Mm, mm, mm. All set to go. Okay, we'll kick things off here. I'll be hosting today. Um, so welcome everybody to our 22nd TAN Council recurring meeting. For today's meeting, we'll have a look at the current TANIPs, give a brief heads up regarding elections, and we will round it off with some open discussion Q&A. Firstly, however, let's start with an overview of the TAN Council as proposed and the purpose of these reoccurring meetings. These reoccurring meetings serve 5 critical functions. They provide transparency to our community. They create a structured forum for proposal discussions, enabling authors to present to the council and community and to discuss, debate, and refine for formal proposals and voting with consensus. They enable regular platform updates. They ensure consistent communication among council members. And finally, they allow direct communication and community engagement through questions and answer sessions. The TAN Council is a local governments organization within the platform, the Telcoin platform. Together, we serve as a provider and administrator of collective goods and services within the jurisdictional domain of the Telcoin Association Network, or TAN. The TAN Council, with our 6 members, makes decisions related to TAN improvements and policies throughout the TANIP process. We need 5 out of 6 votes to approve proposals within a 120-hour voting period. Our primary duties are to allocate TEL issuance on TAN for stakers and developers to harvest, plan and finance the development of the Telcoin application network, and our key responsibilities include reviewing and voting on snapshot proposals, attending these bi-weekly meetings, providing regular community updates, monitoring TAN systems, and enforcing operational rules. We'll use Slack and Trello for day-to-day operations, the forum for informal proposal discussions, and these reoccurring meetings for deliberation and refinement of before snapshot voting for formal voting. Overall, the TAN Council has authority over minor harvesting and planning and financing of the TAN infrastructure. So just a brief recap of last meeting's action items and things we talked about. We talked about the missions dashboard proposal and mission run through and legal considerations. We talked about the TANIP1 data and the pause period. We also spoke about the council election and voting and application process and the TANIP1 report updates. So with that, we will turn it over to talk about the TANIP in regards to external mission dashboard and kind of where we're at with that. We've had some internal discussions, and Nick, aka Blue Lights, is here to kind of walk us through that and where we're at now and where we're thinking about going. So Nick, if you'd mind assisting, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. So we've been put a lot of thought into the gamification side, doing missions and making it fun and enjoyable for the community. We have faced some challenges. A lot of it has to do with legally compliant kind of missions that, so to speak, and we know that there's a bit of a grey area there. So we're trying to come up with a good plan for missions that are not boring. For example, we have to be very careful and we have to choose more simple ones that kind of make use of the product, so to speak. So like what you can do on the TEL app, for example. So do one trade for 3 days in a row. We can't specifically speak about amounts of trades and things like that. So 7 days, trade 7 days in a row, things like that. But we have to put more thought into creating a good amount of different missions that we can actually make enjoyable to use. So that's one aspect that we're still refining, still discussing. A lot of thought has gone into it. And the other side of it is on the actual blue chip site, I had actually built out a load of stuff, even checking to make sure that the wallet was created in the TEL app and things like that. So there was a lot of checks in place, and I'd built out a couple test missions. But overall, personally, I wasn't very happy with a couple of things. One is that we needed to make sure security was paramount. On the blue chip site. Anyway, just because of the nature of Telcoin and the nature of crypto and Web3. Um, and then another point was that I didn't necessarily think that the blue chips platform was on brand enough for the association or for the missions. Obviously, my bigger vision my initial thought and been speaking to everybody was to build out eventually some sort of rewards system for the network itself. But that's a whole nother issue. So, and then more recently with us launching the Telcoin hub, which has proved actually been taken really well from the community, and I really appreciate all the support we've had. Well, and obviously BZ's been putting a lot of work in the back end of the holding side of it as well. But we are kind of going back to the drawing board. We've got a lot of the stuff. The code that I put together to check wallets and things like that. We've got a lot of that. We just want to go back and have a real good think and try to do things more on brand. Consider possibly doing the missions on the Telcoin hub, because that's all about Telcoin, and it's far better that way. So we're just going back. We've put lots of time into thinking about it, and we're not going anywhere. But we just want to make sure that. I want to make sure as well that anything that we release is of good quality and also will create engagement. So so bear with us. That's kind of like an overall. I don't know if you guys have got any more questions on it for me, but I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the goal is, now that we've learned more about what we can and cannot do from a mission perspective based on legal after we ran it through legal and everything else. We want to make sure that then the question really becomes: is this enough and going to be engaging enough for the community? As everybody knows, we are still have a pause on the TANIP1, so we're really relooking at the reward system as a whole and ensuring that we're compliant and that we are building out something that is scalable as the network is impending. Right, we're getting closer and closer to that. So we're trying to take our time. There's still we're reviewing all the data internally. We had some more reports that came out today as we look at what the wallet activity and the network activity or the app activity looks like now versus when we were running the TANIP1. And then there's some other considerations to be made in regards to how we will move forward with a award system and reward system that makes sense for the community, and we want to engage the community in that discussion as well. So that's we've really kind of, to Nick's point, taken a more cautious approach and not wanting to move too quickly, only to have to pivot again once the network goes live. So I don't know if anybody else has any other comments there from the council.
Sim raised a valid point as well about checking kind of off-the-shelf solutions. So I think he mentioned Zeely, and I think Merkle is another potential. And it seems like they might be quite kind of malleable in terms of what kind of challenges we can set on those. I know Arbitrum have something going on at the moment through Merkle, so that could also take some of the heavy lifting off our plate in a sense, in terms of development and security of the front end. And just throwing that out there.
The only thing is, I mean, I've looked at them in that, but I'd assume that we'd only want like Tel app users. They've created an address in the Tel app and not just any sort of user. And then the other side of it is, some of the missions are fine, but doing a mission to follow an account on X, for example. I mean, I don't think that personally. I don't think those are very engaging, because people just do it to get their points or whatnot. They're not doing it because they're trying out a feature of the app, or they're involved more in it. It's more like, oh yeah, quickly do these missions just so I can get some free tokens or free whatever. So I think the engagement side of it has to be far deeper than that. But yeah, whatever. I mean, it just depends on if they offer anything that would suit, then always up for different ideas.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think those social media ones aren't really what we're looking for, but it looks like this Merkle platform might be more aligned with what we're looking at in terms of all of their all of their kind of, they call them opportunities, are on-chain based, and it's like supplying tokens to markets and stuff. So sorry to kind of spring it on you. I know we haven't actually discussed it internally yet, but it just kind of came to mind now.
Yeah, we'll check everything out.
So it could be worth
I think
checking. Yeah, it could be interesting. And it looks like, based on the kind of range of challenges they have here, we could probably use the code you already wrote to determine whether or not a wallet is a Telcoin wallet, as a kind of prerequisite for a lot of these, which could be cool.
Yeah, that could be cool, definitely. I mean, and that might very well be good for a test purpose, or just to see how things go, And if we get the engagement, then we can build out something more custom.
Definitely, yeah. Sounds good.
Perfect. Anybody have anything else to go
Let me
over?
drop the link here as well, just
Yeah,
to
great.
get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I think the other part that we talked about in that aspect was really also that considering costs, development costs, time costs.
I mean, the end goal of it all is to create engagement, but also make something a bit more fun, isn't it? So if we can do that, then and we test it out and we get some good data from it, it will just cement the idea of building something a little bit more, stronger for the actual network itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And obviously, cost is something that to consider with that as well, and time spent developing. Nick, you've done a lot of work on it, right? And so I think some good options on the table, especially when looking at that and combining it with what our potential future plans would be for the TANIP1 process when the network is live and operational. So we're really trying to consider all angles and make sure that we're bringing something forth that's going to be used, and that also, which most is important, it rewards people for helping improve the network ecosystem. So, all right. So moving on, unless anybody has any other questions, look at the chat here right now. I know we don't have a huge agenda today with everything that's been going on, but one thing I did want to make sure that we spoke about is the elections. Those of you that have followed our X account and our forums will notice that there are elections for our council seats that are going on currently. This is part of our charge as a DAO to really focus on ensuring that there is a community forward process in the electoral process of these seats that help govern the network and make decisions in that regard. There's many different seats available. If somebody has the link, let me see if I can grab it here. But you can also refer to that on our X account. And the purpose is really we want to encourage the community if you have ideas or want to be involved in kind of shaping this next step into the governance process. We would encourage you to reach out to a current council member, or ask some questions if you're at least curious about what it entails. You're compensated for your time, and really the focus is to bring forth good ideas that will help both, one, represent community and network interests, and two, really continue to drive the network and the project forward. We really want to ensure that we're casting a wide net. You'll see that we just posted some information on the voting process, depending on what seat is involved. And even if you are not considering running, we do need all individuals that are involved in the infrastructure and the network currently. That means stakers on the app and people that provide liquidity on Telex. You have the voting power and the ability to contribute and vote for your candidates on those seats. So we put out a post today explaining that process on the X account. So please take a look there. You can join the forums and take a more in-depth look at telcoin.org and click on forums, and keep an eye on the dates for the snapshot, which is very important that your voting power, i.e. your Telcoin, is delegated and staked appropriately at that time, as that determines your voting power. So there's a lot of information. If there are questions in specific areas, we're happy to answer them. I'm currently finalizing and finishing a how-to video that shows step-by-step on how to vote or use your voting power. And I hope to have that hopefully done here shortly. So yeah, any other comments from any other council members on that process?
No, I think all good. Let me just pop the guide in the chat just to keep everyone updated.
Perfect, and I'll put it in the stream chat as well.
So that chat, that forum post basically runs you through how to make sure you're eligible to vote. So that's kind of the next step after applying for positions, just to make sure that your stakes are active and your LPs are in the right place and all of that. So when the time comes to vote, you have your voting power, basically.
Excellent, thank you. And that is the only other thing I wanted to mention and just recap on as well. We did talk about this last week, the results of the TANIP1 process and kind of what we were going to be doing with releasing some of those findings. That is still in review. We've had some more data, like I said, some more data that we've gotten, and we want to make sure that we have an in-depth and comprehensive review so that we're able to really drive home what the next steps will be. So you can look for that here soon. I think we had said 8 weeks or so from the initial time till now. So we're reaching that endpoint, and we should have this released here sometime in the next week or two. But keep your eye on the forums and Discord for that. Otherwise, I believe that is all of our scheduled agenda except for questions and answers. So I will kind of open the floor up. If there's any questions here internally on the call or on the stream, please put them in chat or feel free to speak up.
Having looked at Merkle now, it looks like it's not as programmable as I hoped. So maybe that's less of an option. But
okay.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe there's a way of kind of integrating or something.
Yeah, well, that's our challenge. Our challenge is to do something on brand, to do something that works only with the official wallet addresses, and to make something engaging and fun. So that's why it's taken a lot of time and effort to think, because this is Web3 and there's not exactly always something that fits the exact narrative that you need, and that's why things need to get built sometimes. So it's a challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always a tough kind of battle between having to build stuff and not wanting to reinvent the wheel. So it's trying to get squares and round pegs sometimes. But
and it's also how much engagement are we going to get? If we were a Web2 kind of front thing like Microsoft or something with Xbox and all that, we know that we could build something and we're going to get millions of users that are going to test it out. But in Web3, it's still a niche kind of area, and you have to go down the rabbit hole on a certain project. So to try and get muster up that, and then tie it in with also pushing out some advertising to get users to come out, to test, to download the app, to try the missions, to claim the rewards. All of it needs a lot of thought, and it needs to be good. It can't be clunky. It can't be difficult for users to use. That's the other battle. We've got to make something that's really really cool, really easy, fun, engaging. So it just needs a lot of thought until we get to the right kind of place.
Absolutely.
Definitely agree. Well said. Yeah, it's as Matt said, it's better take our time with a cautious and deliberate approach to make sure that what we do sticks, rather than quickly doing something and then having to pivot, right?
And then we don't want to do all that, and then Matt comes along from compliance and stamps a no on it.
Says, no, you can't do that. So again, and that's very important as we move forward, because developers and things will look at these, right? And so it's different, right? I was having this conversation today, is this process in which we discuss these things in an open forum for the community to listen into is very different in the space than a lot of projects. A lot of these conversations happen behind closed doors, and it creates a veil of protection, I guess I would say. But the purpose of this is really just, if you have an idea, bring it up. If you've seen something in another project that worked and was engaging and you enjoyed it, we want to know from a rewards perspective. There's no new ideas. There's always just pivots and changes to existing ones. So please, if you have an idea of a reward system you think would be a great benefit or engaging, which ultimately benefits the network, please bring it to our attention. All of our emails are available on the website, or you can reach out to us on socials. So
and I'll just say as well, the kind of bigger vision that I had was an actual, if you just picture in a once the network's live, because all of these Web3 kind of gamification stuff are all individual kind of dApps that are built on different chains and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not sure if this is entirely possible. We've touched on it before, but the kind of bigger vision, and this is like a test kind of version of doing this idea, but the bigger vision is to have some kind of reward layer that sits possibly on the network itself, that all other dApps that get built on the network can utilize. So we have a central rewards kind of layer that could be for different things. It could be the even like the MNOs could plug into it and things like that. So it's just a bigger vision that but then it needs a lot of legal TLC legal kind of things, and different jurisdictions might have different kind of stuff. So some so it's so messy and complicated. But in the purest form, some sort of like main reward layer that sits on the network that things can plug into would make things much better for all the different adapts that are on the network that are using, that they all go through this as one sort of reward layer that offer out stuff to users. Is a vision, but I don't know if it's possible. But that's kind of my idea on the grander scheme of things, if it at all it would work.
Yeah, I love the slow and steady approach of making sure we do something right that everyone is going to enjoy and use and benefit from, right? The goal is rewarding people for their actions on the network, and those actions improving the network. So
and engagement and simple and easy. That's the key. Make it really easy and simple for people to use,
Absolutely. Well, I don't see any other questions in the stream chat. I'll open up the floor one more time, and we don't have a large agenda today. Otherwise, we will end it there. Give it a few more seconds here. All right. With that, as I said, please reiterate again, the elections and the voting process is very important. We want a great voter turnout. So please go look at those. If you have questions, let us know. Keep an eye out for a how-to video coming shortly on that process, as a reminder, the elections begin on November 4th. Is that right, Leo? November 4th is at 4 p.m. Central is the snapshot?
November the 5th, but all applications have to be in by November the 4th.
Perfect. Yep. So come out and vote, and be part of that process of choosing who represents the individuals here. And if you are so inclined, please apply. We'd love more applicants. It's always a positive. So, with that said, this will conclude today's meeting, and we will meet in 2 weeks' time at 5 p.m. And that date is, let me look at it. It's going to be November 6th is our next meeting for the TAN Council. Join us next week on Wednesday, the 29th at 3 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Telex meeting. And then on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern is the Platform and Treasury meeting. So please join for those 2 meetings. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in Discord in advance, and we'd be happy to answer them on the call. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.
All right.